Vietnam is located in the center of Southeast Asia with a land area of 331,689 square kilometers. It is bordered by China to the north, Laos and Cambodia to the west, the East Sea and Pacific Ocean to the east and the south, and has a beautiful 3,260 kilometers long coastline. It is an ideal position for the development of the economy in general and trade and tourism in particular. Three-quarters of the country consists of mountains and tropical forests, and the plains are the most densely populated areas. The two rice-rich areas are Red River Delta in the north and the Mekong River Delta in the south. Hanoi in the north is the capital of the country. Da Nang in the center of Vietnam is the third largest city and an important seaport, and Ho Chi Minh City in the south is the largest commercial city of Vietnam. Vietnam is located in both tropical and temperate zones. The climate is tropical in southern and central Vietnam with a wet and dry season, and warm and humid weather all year round. In the north, there are four seasons with a distinct winter. The whole country is affected by a strong monsoon influence with a considerable amount of sunshine and high rate of rainfall and humidity. Vietnamese employees respond to challenges well and fast. They are very committed to develop their country, themselves, and the firms they are working for. Professionals are normally able to conduct business in at least one foreign language, with the importance of English growing continuously. Vietnam also has a talent pool in the senior professionals who graduated at leading universities in the former Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. In addition to Vietnamese nationals, the country is increasingly attractive for foreign professionals. In addition to nationals and major foreign investing countries, Vietnam can draw on the talents of plenty of Indian and Philippine professionals as well. With the emergence of business opportunities in neighboring Laos, Cambodia, a recent trend to attract senior executives to Vietnam to head the Mekong practice for their perspective. Vietnam's population was estimated at approximately 92.7 million in 2016, with an annual growth rate of 1.6%. The mean population density is 254 people per square kilometer. There are 54 ethnic groups, of which the largest are King, comprising 85% of the population. The rest is Tây, Thai, Muong, Chinese, and Khmer. Vietnam is the country with 67% of the population at the working age, 24% before and 8.6% after working age. Vietnam employees respond to challenges well and fast. They are very committed to develop their country, themselves, and the firms they are working for. Professionals are normally able to conduct business in at least one foreign language, with the importance of English growing continuously. Vietnam also has a talent pool of senior professionals who graduated at leading universities in the former Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. With the emergence of business opportunities in neighboring Laos and Cambodia, the recent trend is to attract senior executives to Vietnam to head the Mekong practice in their respective company. Vietnamese government considers the development of human capital very important. Literacy rate at 90% and the percentage of girls attending schools are very high. In 2006-2007, more than 16 million pupils attended primary, lower secondary, and upper secondary schools. The national average of graduates from upper secondary schools is 93%. At the same time, close to 1 million students attended to 253 public universities and colleges, and 210,000 were enrolled in the 46 non-public institutions. In comparison, in 2000, there were only 800,000 students in the public and only 100,000 students in the non-public universities and colleges. Why the education system has not been able to keep fully abreast with the demands of the rapidly growing and changing economy, Vietnam can also benefit from opportunities to send students abroad on generous scholarship terms, and there education reforms are planned. In addition, it is worth to note that more and more wealthy parents send their children abroad for education. Vietnam is the socialist country operating under the leadership of the Communist Party. The Nationwide Congress of Vietnam's Communist Party is held every 5 years, determining the country's orientation and strategies and adopting its chief policies on solutions for socio-economic development. The National Assembly is the highest lawmaking body in the country. It comprises delegates who are elected for a 5 year term from various strata, people, and different ethnic groups from all around the country. The Standing Committee of the National Assembly is the permanent executive body of the National Assembly. Its principal functions are the interpretation of the constitutions, laws, and ordinances, the control of their implementation, of the supervision of the activity of the government, the Supreme People's Court, and Supreme People's Procuracy. The President, as the head of state, is elected by the National Assembly from its members to represent Vietnam in domestic and foreign affairs for 5 year tenure. The President has the right to proclaim laws and ordinances passed by the National Assembly and Standing Committee. The President is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Force and the Chairman of the Council of Defense and Security. In foreign affairs, the President has the authority to appoint ambassadors to sign international agreements and treaties. The President appoints and dismisses the Prime Minister and the members of government on basis of resolutions of the National Assembly or its Standing Committee. The government is the highest executive organ of the state. The Prime Minister is the leader of the government. The Prime Minister is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the government. Vietnamese government currently has 20 ministries and 6 ministerial level bodies. Vietnam has 59 provinces and 5 cities directly under central authority, including Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Hải Phòng, Da Nang, and Cần Thơ. People's Council of various administrative levels are elected by the population of the locality. People's Council are responsible for the supervision of the implementation of the laws, policies, and the tasks of the local level, for taking decisions on social economic development programs and budget. As can be seen from political perspective, we can see that the Vietnamese government is stable with low to zero probability of revolutions or changes. Secondly, judiciary is controlled by the government. Vietnam is also the country with high corruption rate. It is standing 116 out of 176 countries. Vietnam also was ranked 99 out of 189 countries in the World Bank's 2014 Doing Business report. Next, Vietnam's planning system is still based on a vertical top-down approach under the unitary system. Finally, Power Master Plan calls for diversification, balanced development, and liberalization in energy sector. However, market liberalization still remains the biggest issue. In terms of international relations, at present, Vietnam has established diplomatic relations with 168 countries, and it has economic
In terms
and
of
trading
infrastructure,
relations with about
the highway system in
165
Vietnam
countries.
consists
Vietnam
of over
joined the United
200,000
Nations in
kilometer network,
1977.
including over
Vietnam became an
10,000
official
bridges.
member of
However,
Association
road
of
conditions
Southeast
are not
Asian
ideal.
nations.
Less than
In
half of the national
1995,
highways
has
have 2
concluded
lanes
a
or more.
cooperation
In
agreement
addition,
with European
road congestion
Community.
is increasing in
Relationships
major
with
cities. In recent
multinational
years, the
financial
government has
institutions such as
mobilized
World
a
Bank,
significantly
International
large amount of
Monetary
capital
Fund,
to
the
upgrade
Asian
the highway
Development Bank
system with
(ADB)
financial
have
support
been
from international lending
established.
agencies.
Vietnam has been
In railway,
participating the
the
ASEAN
rail
Free Trade
network
Area
consists of
after
about
in
2,600
1996
kilometers from
and became a
single track
member of
line
Asia
covering several
Pacific
routes.
Economic
There are
Cooperation
about
Forum (APEC)
260 stations
in
in the network.
1998.
The longest and most
Vietnam became
important
an
route
official
is
member of the
Hanoi-Ho Chi
World
Minh
Trade
City Line,
Organization
which
on the
stretches for
11th of January 2007.
1,730 kilometers.
In January
This line
2008,
is now serviced
countries
by the
started a
express train,
two-year term
which
as
makes
an
the
elected
journey is
non-permanent
about
member of the
29
United
hours. The lines
Security
connecting
Council.
Vietnam to China were
Vietnam
reopened
signed
a few years
the
ago.
bilateral trade agreement
Inland
with
waterways,
the United States in
often
2000.
overlooked by foreign
Besides
investors,
aspects of
the
international
inland
trade,
waterway
the
system offers a
BTA
cheap,
covers a
flexible
variety of
mode
other
of
areas,
transport.
including
Vietnam has more
intellectual
than
property rights, trade
2,300
service,
rivers and
development
canals,
of
with a
investment
total
relations,
length of
business
198,000
facilitation, and the
kilometers.
obligation to
Currently,
ensure
the inland
transparency of the laws and
waterway
regulations.
has a system
The
of over
BTA
61,000
essentially
kilometers.
constitutes
The two
a
major inland
commitment
waterway
by both
systems
countries
serve as the
to open
major
their markets
transportation
to each
outlets.
other.
The first major inland waterway system is in the Red River Areal in the north, which stretches for about 2,500 kilometers. Along this system, there are 5 main ports, of which Hanoi is the largest. The second major inland waterway extends 4,500 kilometers along the Mekong River and its tributaries in the south and boasts about 30 ports, including Ho Chi Minh City. In the airports and civil aviation, there are 3 international airports: Ho Chi Minh City, Hanoi, and Da Nang. Currently, the government has significantly
In the economy of Vietnam,
Vietnam has been carrying out the economic reforms in
traffic
1986
associated with
under the
Vietnam's
renovation
economy.
policy.
The new
Focusing on
international
market-oriented
economic management,
in Ho Chi Minh City,
it has
capable
included
of handling up to 1
to
million
build a
passengers a year,
multi-sector economy,
was opened in December
financial,
2007.
monetary, and
Not by
administrative
airport
reform
in Hanoi
and the
was
development of
upgraded in
external
last and
economic
completed
relations.
for
One of the most
operation
important
in
aspects
2002,
of economic reform in
construction of the
Vietnam has
second
been
terminal
encouragement
to start
of
in
domestic
October
and foreign
2008
private investment
and completed
since
in
1986.
4
Vietnam
new
has
international
recorded
airports
important achievements
was planned
in
to be
social,
constructed in
economic
Phu Quoc, Nong
fields,
Nai, and Lao Cai,
and Vietnam
Quảng Ninh
has become one of
provinces.
the fastest
Preparations for
growing
the new
economies
Long
in the
Thanh
world.
International Airport,
Averaging
40 kilometers
around
from Ho Chi Minh City in Dong Nai province, is underway.
annual gross
The
domestic
airport
product
was scheduled
growth
to
from
open in 2010,
1990 to
and by
1997,
2015 it was expanded to reach
7.5%
from
transportation
2000 to
capacity
2006
of
and
80.1
80.5% in
passengers,
2007,
becoming one of the biggest airports in the region.
The
In
achievements
addition,
in the
there are
economy during
16
the past
other
few years
domestic
include the
airports
following
around the
highlights.
country.
In terms of agriculture or aquaculture, they are one of the base for Vietnam's social economic stabilization. This industry has continued to maintain its relatively good development with annual growth rate of over 3.8% over the past 5 years. This has helped contribute to the maintenance of social economic stability and the provision of improved support to the hunger eradication and alleviation and employment generation programs. The cropping structure has also changed, and agricultural productivity has increased in many regions. In recent years, aquaculture has increased rapidly and in 2007 accounted for 23% of total value of agricultural production. Export income from aquatic products has also been increasing considerably, reaching 3.8 billion USD in 2007. In terms of industrial sector, we can see that difficulties and challenges have been overcome, bringing about positive results. The industrial growth rate
In terms of service sector,
17% over the
it
last
has maintained
5 years.
its operation
In 2007,
despite
industrial
various
production
difficulties
values increased
and
by
has improved
17%,
its quality,
with
meeting the
a
demands
growth
of economic
rate in
growth
private
and
businesses
people.
of 20%.
Trade has been
Three
growing
attributed to
relatively well.
increasing policies
Markets are
and
more
positive
open and
impacts of the
transparent
former
with the
enterprise law.
participation of all
The
economic
production
sectors.
capacity has
Business
risen
methods
several
have
industries,
become more
resulting in
diversified,
increased
and there has
exports.
been an annual
The industrial
average
sector
increase
has
about
changed
20% in
considerably.
total
By
retail sales.
2005,
The
mining,
progress have been
particularly
recorded
the
in the
extraction
tourist
of oil and gas
industry.
industry, accounted for
The numerous
11%
tourist attractions have
of
been
the
built,
total value of
upgraded, and
industrial
renovated.
production.
The
A
types of
large
tourism
number of
have
specialized
diversified,
industrial zones
resulting in a
utilizing modern
continuous
production
increase in
technologies have
tourism
been
revenue.
developed.
In addition to
Manufacturing
business
accounted for
conferences, very
83% of
notably,
industrial
Vietnam
production,
hosted the
of which
APEC
the food
Summit in
processing
November
industry accounted
2006.
for 20.6%.
International rivals in
Power supply
2007
and
were
distribution
estimated at
5.2%, and water
4.23 million,
supply
up by
accounted for
18% against
5.6%.
2006. Post and telecommunications services have developed rapidly. The basic telecommunications network has been modernized. During 2007, the number of telephone subscribers grew by 9.8 million, reaching over 27.8 million. The mobile sector is particularly vibrant, with a number of ambitious local companies competing for subscribers. During the period 2002-2007, total export revenue increased by 23% per year. Both the composition and quality of export have improved significantly. The proportion of industrial products have risen considerably. The 5 biggest export categories are oil, textiles, footwear, seafood, and food products.
GDP
During the
of
same
Vietnam was
period,
worth
the total imports have increased by 25.5% per year.
in 2012.
Exports
The
reached
gross domestic product increased by
$4 billion in
2007,
an increase of 21%
compared with the same period
compared to
2006.
2006.
GDP
However,
annual growth
due
rate
to considerable
was
imports of
51%
equipment
on
materials
average from
used for
2000 until
industrialization
2014.
and modernization
It reached
process
its
and for
highest
foreign
level
investment
in the end
projects.
2007.
The trade
and
deficit
was
has increased over the past 3 years.
3.12% in the
Imports
beginning
in
of 2009.
2007 reached
Slow global
60
growth and the lack
million
of
US
satisfactory
dollars.
structural
Trading
reforms
relations with
have led
foreign
to an
countries,
economic slowdown.
especially other countries in the
Vietnam's
region,
economy
have
is
expanded.
experiencing
In
its
2007,
period of
the
moderate
biggest regions
growth
and
since
countries
the beginning
buying
of
from
economic
Vietnam were
reforms
America,
in the late 1980s.
10 billion US dollars.
GDP
European
growth
Union
slowed to
8.7 billion.
5.2% in
ASEAN
2012,
8 billion.
from
Japan
6.2% in
5.5 billion
2011,
and China
3.2 billion US dollars
in 2010. Approximately 20,000 businesses stopped their business permanently for a while in 2013. It is calculated as 10.5% increase in the period of 1 year. New 39,000 businesses were registered in the same period. The forecast expects the higher growth for 2014. For example, the Economist Intelligence Unit expects GDP annual growth to rise to 5.8 in 2014. Services, which comprise of 43% of total input, rose to 6.6% in 2013 compared to previous year. Industry and construction, which mean 38% of economy, increased 5.4% in 2013. Lastly, agriculture, fishing, and forestry make up 22% of GDP. Public spending in Vietnam is 31% of total input. Government debt is over half of gross domestic income. The overall tax rate is equivalent to 21% of domestic economy. Vietnam is one of the top countries that have the lowest unemployment rates. High wage and expensive life has made companies outsource to neighboring states instead of China. In the past 20 years, the increase in education level of Vietnamese people helped them to find jobs in high-end jobs rather than in the agriculture sector. This boosted fast economic development and reduced poverty. However, Vietnam has vulnerable employment problem which grew more in late 2013. Informal employment moved up by 2.2% in the end 2013. Hence, vulnerable employment in Vietnam was equivalent to 62.1% of total employment during the same period. In the banking system, financial liberalization in Vietnam has sped up from the early 1990s. The financial system in general and the banking system in particular have achieved a lot of progress. These 20 years of progress have proved that the banking system has been transferring from one tier system into a two-tier system which allowed all households to compete fairly and effectively. And the improvements in the banking sector are mainly derived from cooperative activities and initiatives of IMF and WTO via Vietnamese government. Within the past 15 to 20 years, the banking system in Vietnam developed not only in the number of banking institutions, but also in the share of the banking sector in Vietnamese economy, in the amount of credits for the economy, and the amount of other banking services as well. A consequence of that is the amount of capital mobilized through the banking sector was around 1.800 trillion Vietnamese dollars, nearly 30% up to compared to early 1990s. Despite the fact that the banking system in Vietnam did a lot to restrict government intervention and openness to foreign financial institutions, still more reforms to further develop and restructure it are needed in order to finance the current and future capital needs of the economy. Dollar, the holding of foreign currency denominated assets by local residents, is a common feature in developing and transition economies. Thus, Vietnam was also faced up with the first stage of dollarization in the 1960s as a result of the U.S. military intervention. A second stage followed in 1988-1989 during the transition period toward the market-oriented economy. Generally speaking, dollar affected several macroeconomic indicators such as exchange rates, which led to depreciation of Vietnam dollars and inflation. The Vietnamese government in the early 1990s adopted numerous monetary policies in order to reduce dollar's financial strength in the country, such as holding huge amounts of dollars in foreign exchange market, which resulted with appreciation of Vietnam dollars in short term. Monetary policies actually brought the expected positive result. The inflation rate went down from 350% in 1994 to 35% in 1998. Together with the control of monetary expansion, Vietnamese government successfully put into practice a policy of pegging the Vietnam dollars to the foreign currencies for the next 10 years. According to the analysts and Vietnam officers, within the period of 3 to 4 years, the state economy and financial system overall could recover from 2008 crisis so that the economy had an inflation rate lower than 10% from 2010 to 2012. On the other hand, re-emerged
inflation did not harm significantly to depreciation figures in the financial system. The depreciation rate in 2008 to 2012 had experienced a minor climb at 1.5%, which was lower than in 2003-2006. Nowadays, Vietnamese government pursues a strict regulations and policies to keep stable exchange rates and inflation rate lower than 7% per annum by pushing down export of some industrial goods and restricting foreign currency inflows into the economy. Overall, starting from 2009, the Vietnamese government has achieved a 6.8% inflation rate per annum. On average, depreciation rate of 3% and general exchange rates on Vietnam dollars US dollars fluctuate between 0.7% to 1.3%, which makes local and foreign investors more accessible to financial resources with less risk. From looking overall at Vietnamese economy, we have some recommendations for potential investors in Vietnam. Firstly, starting, operating, and closing business are subject to a number of regulations. It takes 34 days and 10 procedures to start a business, according to World Bank data. Secondly, Vietnamese Ministry of Planning and Investment is in charge of recommendations on sectors and regions requiring investment. Investing in Vietnam for the first time, foreign investors must have investment projects and follow the formal procedures in order to be granted a certificate of investment registration. Next, it is highly recommended to find the right local partner to facilitate the investment procedures and obtain the appropriate certificates. Then, the encouraged sectors for investment include some fields like industrial zones, export processing zones, high-tech zones, and economic zones. Some conditions for FDIs are not clearly defined in the laws of the country, so the conditions are sometimes unclear. Moreover, Vietnamese courts are only partially independent. Judicial authorities of the country are subordinate to the Central Party of Vietnam, which control court at all levels. Finally, the investor should build and keep strong positive ties with the local government, senior level government officers, and community is very essential.